All right, all right. Let me just begin by welcoming the usual suspects, Bob Winslow and Greg and Julia, to GFB again on a Thursday evening. I'm glad to see Greg and Julia back. They are some mainstays, and good to have you guys back in the squares. And Danya, as always, appreciate you, brother, for what you do. Um, we are coming up on our first grand holiday. Some people like to wedge Halloween in there, but that's not the one. Thanksgiving and Christmas, and New Year's, those are the big three I like to say. So first up, Thanksgiving, exactly a week away. We are looking forward to a little less restriction this year. I think the ability to engage and spend some time with your loved ones seems to be back on the table. People's gotten their COVID shots and doing what they got to do to make sure that they can enjoy the company of each other without taking a significant risk. So in that spirit, I think we did something similar last year. I think I was along the lines of what are you thankful for or something, and in that ballpark, but with a little bit of fun, I'll call it. This week's topic is thankful for what? Expectations versus appreciation. So how we go about things generally, and we won't change that this evening, is I'll present a couple of questions and we'll go around the space and just have a good little bit of fun unpacking them. And I already know there's some wonderful things that are going to be shared today. This is a happy occasion. This time of year should encourage you to make right what's wrong and just forgive and forget it certain ways, what have you. I mean, this should not be a tough situation for us when it comes to dealing with loved ones. And if you got a history with somebody, think about that history more so than whatever that issue is that might have you a little distraught. So we're in a happy place, in a happy spirit. I'm gonna sip on a little bit of tea and we're gonna just have a good time this evening. So again, I'm so glad to see Greg and Julia, and I'm looking forward to us getting together in person in the not too distant future. I feel like it's been way too long already. So I'll start with a simple task, I think, and I consciously denied myself answering my questions beforehand. I wanted to kind of wrestle with them a little bit in real time with you guys, because you don't know what I'm thinking. And I said, if I do too much processing, then I'll be kind of cheating at this game. So I'll start with the first one, and I'm going to let Bob answer it first, because we're all starting from zero, Bob. I refuse to contemplate much. So again, the topic is thankful for what? Expectation versus appreciation. So Bob, tell me three things you expect to be a certain way. You just expect them to be a certain way.
Nothing, and nothing.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
That may sound like a cheat answer.
You're a Buddhist.
Well, but the thing is, one of the things that somehow I learned was that people are more grateful and appreciative when you don't have expectations than when you do. And having expectations, I think, is, well, first of all, I think that anything positive that comes our way is a gift. And a gift isn't something that should be expected. A gift is a gift. And anything positive that comes our way is a gift. And we should be, I think, grateful for it. And I think that when we begin to establish expectations and we set people up for compliance to our expectations and our ways, I think we've completely messed up, completely undermined the loving and giving dynamic that should exist between all people.
You are absolutely going to a place that this conversation will eventually get us to. And I was interested in seeing where people would take those that open question and the other open one that is to come. I tried to process it in a more simplistic way. And one of the main things I can say as a expectation is I do expect, in a simple sense, my car to start when I get in it to go somewhere. Okay. That's the level. No, and I get it. That was not for you to be prompted, Bob. That was just the way I was perceiving how I would answer the question. There's nothing wrong with what you said. No, and we're going to get there. Yeah.
And let me layer in some things to that point, because yes, I do expect my functional things to be reliable. I do expect, well, I do want people to be considerate and respectful and kind. I don't expect it, but I want to see it. I'm frustrated when I don't see it. I'm frustrated by the lack of consideration and whatnot that I run into. It's completely fair. I do rely. I like the heat to work. You know, I like the air conditioning to work. I like the car to start. I like when I have a flat tire. No, I'm not happy. But yeah.
And it continues, right? Because however you project that expectation or whatever you project it on can default or derail at points. And that's what leads to the disappointment. And that's actually one of my, I think I came up with it. It is a favorite quote of mine. A road paved with expectations often leads to disappointment or something like that. And that can be interpreted so many ways. But yeah, I expect my car to start. I expect the light switch to turn on a light when I flick it.
Right.
But on that more intimate level, on that more that level that is more involved with emotions or some types of feelings or that expectation that can really be disappointing, I expect my sister to call me back if she doesn't answer when I call. So that level is a whole nother thing to deal with, right? The expectation thing just has all these bounces. So I kind of just gave you my three. I expect my car to start. I expect the light switch to work, or like you said, the mechanical things. But I also expect my sister. I expect Greg or Julia. I expect Bob. I expect Meryl. If I call you, I'm expecting a call back. I know I'm going to get a call back. And if I don't, then something's actually has to be wrong, because that's just a norm. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And let me add something to that, because I think it's important. Part of that expectation that you just articulated is also a function of, like, you may know that if you call me, you don't need to leave a message. If you call me and I see a missed call, I'll call you back as soon as I can. If I don't, you need to worry about me. You should worry about me because something's wrong, right? There may be somebody else that's not of that same orientation. It may be that you know somebody else that's not going to call you back, or that may certainly not call you back. You know, my son, love him to death. We have a best relationship imaginable. But my son will be on the phone with me. Dad, I got to call you right back. Hang up. I won't hear from him until the next day. I mean, but I know that about him. I get that. I get that. So my expectation is not that. My expectation is, oh, he'll call me back at some point, but it's not going to be necessarily in the next day.
Paying attention is important, Bob. So yeah, knowing the people you're dealing with, absolutely. And in the case of some women that I've encountered over the years, I used to tell them, and it's just my makeup, but I used to tell them, you know, don't say you're going to call me back if you're not. And it wasn't that I was expecting it as a, ooh, I can't wait to talk to you again. I am just someone that would hold anybody to that level of regard. Don't say it if you're not going to do it, because at some point you've shown that you're not consistent in that by that measure. And I don't want that to bleed over in anything else. So we keep it in this simple realm, and I won't expect to get a call back from you because you don't do it anyway. And so don't say it. I hope that makes sense. Greg and Julia, two of my favorite people that I'm glad to see today. Like I said, I just feel like it's been too long. 3 things, if you got them, that you expect to be a certain way, and I will stay in you guys square after you answer, because I'm coming right back with another 3 things. But just have at that.
Okay. You know, it's funny how many comments have been made related to cars and driving and that sort of thing. The first thing that popped in my mind, I expect people to stay in their lane. I expect that.
And use their turn signals.
Would be nice. But, you know, for safety purposes, it's nice to know that everybody's going to stay in their lane, but be prepared otherwise. I expect people to be on time, and they will be forgiven, of course, if they're not. But I have that expectation that people will be on time. I expect people to be respectful and to speak respectfully to one another. So that's 3 things.
Good. Would agree with all of those. It's so interesting because I think we've talked about this before, but one thing I'm trying to do is journal. And so something I was journaling today was recognizing that I have, I'm working with a small committee on, Bob knows about it, the Respect Initiative. Davy Respect Initiative. And some people that I'm involved with are not doing what I think they should do. They've gotten busy and less enthusiastic and may not be on time and are just not as engaged in the meetings. And so how I act from that is I take over. And I become more dominant, and I'm recognizing this in myself and how separative that is. So, you know, Bob's thought about what it creates when we have expectations is so true. It doesn't allow the other people to be what they can be, and they might just be going through a day or a time. So, I just wrote, set yourself to think those thoughts about yourself and others, which will be constructive and positive, and hence harmless in their effects. Study your emotional effect on others. So
powerful.
That's what I've learned about what my expectations create.
That is powerful. Yeah, and that is powerful. Absolutely. That self-reflection that journaling allows you to do, it is and I think I mentioned this when we were talking about it the first time. I do so much in my head these days. I just know that journal makes it more real, and I don't know, Julia, how much you've journaled, and if you've gotten to the point of being able to revisit, you're gonna be so amazed and just like blown away after a year or two, and you go back and read something from January of 2020, and it's like, oh my gosh, I was dealing with this, and I thought it was the worst or the best thing or whatever it was, but it will give you some solace and peace to know that you're on the other side of it, or you've embraced it. Whatever that thing you just shared, awesome. And when you realize you've embraced it, you're gonna remember that when you read it again for years from now. That's beautiful. That was very, very well received by me. Sticking with you guys, and Julia, you can throw out your 3 this time first, and we'll see where Greg lands on them. So 3 things you appreciate being the way they are.
My husband, relationship with our families, our extended families. Oh, I give up.
That's fine. That's the whole point. I mean, I really want the ones that come to your mind first and foremost,
Yeah.
and those kind of covers the most critically important things, the things that are important to you.
The squares. I
Yeah.
love the squares.
There you go. There you go. We love you back. Greg.
Okay. I appreciate, and what is the question again?
Appreciate things.
Three things you appreciate being the way they are.
The way they
Just
are.
the way they are. Yeah.
Okay. The way they are with you and Bob and Danye, Harold, I really appreciate the way things are, the level that we are with each other. I appreciate being able to depend on each other, because I appreciate that works as a law in nature. If you have found a group that you can depend on and begin a project or work together, good things are going to come. I expect good results. So that's one thing that I appreciate having 35 years of a community group experience and what that builds into a person's life in terms of appreciation and dependability and growing, a level of honesty and that kind of thing. So we're growing together. So I like the idea that we can appreciate growing up together, just as we are in these squares. We're growing together. And I also appreciate knowing that tomorrow there will be a new experience. I appreciate knowing that every day there is a new opportunity for forgiveness, for learning, and for growth.
Perfect. I didn't expect anything less. I wake up and I say, as you just stated about the next day, when I wake up tomorrow, one of the first thoughts I'll have is, I hope to get more right today than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And hope to be a better complement to this realm. So yeah, man. Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment. Beautiful. So I'll give the 3 that I have before we get to Bob this time around. And I don't know if this quite jives with the question, but I so appreciate this thing for being the way it is, and it is the level of trust that I feel I've earned from you, Julia, Bob, Merrill, a bunch of folks in my life, friends, family, the level of trust students, the level of trust I feel like I've earned, it's palpable. I can sense it and I can feel it, and it's easy. It's not hard. It's not tough. I think it's just it's the way I'm composed that allows me to be consistent, as Bob would say, be consistent in a way that makes that part easy. But I am so much in a position of gratitude for it. I can't quite put into words how much that means to me, and how much I like being the way it is. I wouldn't want to change that for the world. Other things I appreciate for being the way they are family members with the personalities that they share. I remember when I graduated from UNCG, and family and friends, and Bob, Greg, you all should know by now, I don't really call people friends. At some point you become family. You're acquaintances, and if you're consistent and we're involved long enough, you become family. So it's seldom that if you hear me use the word friend, it's just because it's a word that gets used sometimes, but family. So I was putting together a toast for my graduation from UNCG for undergrad. And I just went through my mind with everybody that I knew might be there and people who may not be, but they were important to me. And I wrote down their name and what I thought that they showed me or that they ingratiated me to by being who they are, not because I looked to them for some reason and made something out of something and said, hey, that they're like this, even if they're not. It was for them being who they were. So with the quirks and all, with the things I might complain about, the things that might get on my nerves about them, there's still value in that. And I would not change them. I appreciate them being the way they are. And I love it. So they all have poured something into me, no matter what it is. So when I wrote all these names out, I had just a little words beside them, humility or sense of humor, not to take myself too seriously, that type of thing, just whatever it was, stoicism, just whatever quality they exuded in their total makeup. Nothing I want to change about them because I like them just the way they are. And I appreciate nature being the way that it is. I appreciate the unpredictableness of it. There's no way you're going to look at the news today and see 72 degrees and know that the wind was going to be whipping as much as it was. They said 72. And people, I saw people that went out today and were probably thinking, yeah, shorts. I saw motorcycles out today, but it was windy, man. It was windy. So I appreciate that as much as we think we may know, that passing shower that wasn't in the forecast can still happen. I appreciate the unpredictability of Mother Nature, and she's a beautiful thing. Bob, let's come to you. You need me to read the question again, or you got it?
Read it again, just to anchor me a little bit.
3 things you appreciate being the way they are.
Okay, so it's fascinating to me that here Gregory and Julia are very meaningful friends to me. Felton, you are a very meaningful friend to me. And the thing that is interesting is Gregory and Julia and I met probably 15 years ago because of a common relationship, and we liked each other the day we met, but we didn't act upon it. And we met again because of family gathering connections, not because of her family, but Julia's family gathering connections, and I was always invited to them. And so we would run into each other again. And it was only when we intentionally said that we would get together, did we get together. Felton, you and I met on the squares. And we would never have become friends had we not intentionally said, hey, want to get together outside the squares. And so here we are, and we have these relationships. And so one of the things I'm particularly grateful for is discovering this matter of intentionality and this matter of building relationships, or not even building them, just hey, having the willingness or interest triggered by whatever to discover, is there something here and what can we do with it? And along with that is the growing awareness and ability of developing relationships around stuff that matters and around ideas and perspectives and so forth that matter, not just because you need another friend, you're lonely, you're in the same social group, you're this, you're that, you're in proximity at work, it's easy. No, I'm really appreciative of being in a space where the people I care to be around are the people that, for whatever reason, we've come to be aligned with, and that share values, share things like consistency, share values like reliability, are honest, and where it's just about getting up and being as beneficial as you can be and doing what you need to do and helping each other out. I don't know any other way to say that. So that's something I have a huge amount of gratitude around. Just a huge amount of gratitude around. I've always, all of y'all know that the relationship that I have with my sons, I'm extraordinarily grateful for. We've had that relationship since each of those boys was conceived. We've never had a bump in the road. We've never had anything but a fantastic, close, trusting relationship. And from a parent's perspective, to have two boys that are now in their 30s and having never had anything that was a bump in the road at all, and having the relationships that we have today, and seeing who they are as parents and as husbands to their wives, wow.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and so the third thing and this layers into all of that, is of continuing and fine-tuning understanding of who the other people are in my life, who are people that are reliable and with whom it's about stuff that matters. And that's an evolution. That's an evolution of understanding. I'm grateful for myself having the willingness and wanting the truth to say bye-bye and to say welcome in.
Absolutely.
And for that not to create angst and hurt, but for that to be, I'm learning.
I think it's easy. It becomes easy when you make sense of your surroundings and the people you encounter and you deal with, and you don't try to make them into somebody else. You let them be who they are, and if it works and you're functional together and you find commonalities, not always common ground, but just commonality, just certain interests, certain thoughts, certain ideas are shared. It endears you to the person, and you can certainly appreciate them. And you miss them. I miss Gregory and Julia. I really do. That's the type of energy I like to look for. I seek that above ideas of what can you do for me and what can I get out of it. And let me just tolerate this person because XYZ. No, this thing that I seek is not necessarily tangible. It's tangible in the sense that I know something is there, but it's not material or a solid thing. It's much appreciated though, in the same way that Bob unpacked. I think this will bring us into the realm of what we were discussing before we started rolling, Greg. I'm interested if it does. This is what I thought it might do, and I'm not steering you towards that, but I like to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts when you hear something like gratitude is the attitude, or your attitude should be gratitude? Bob, you mentioned the word gratitude a lot when you were speaking there, and it was definitely on the table. I think the season kind of makes that kind of bubble up to the surface just as well. But what are your thoughts when you hear that gratitude is the attitude, Greg?
I think that's a good word to talk about because it has a transformative effect for me. When I think about when someone says, well, what do you think about gratitude? Or what are you grateful for? Or just contemplate the word. We all love words. I think everybody in the squares here tonight loves words. Gratitude is a transforming word. I just have to think about it a minute, and it has an effect on my mind, my brain. So I believe that's a good statement. It's a great idea to combine gratitude and attitude. We choose it. We choose our attitudes. We choose to be grateful. So yeah.
What's that? I'm not going to get it. It's Henry Nouwen. You probably know it, Felton. You don't think your way into a new way of being. You act your way into a new way of thinking. And
I know it now.
It's something like that. I think I probably botched it.
Live your way.
Live your way.
Into a new way of thinking.
And live your way into a new way of thinking. And I think that's what happens with gratitude. Whenever I wake up and I'm a little off, I write down 5 things to be grateful for. And it immediately flips how I think. What was the question? Sorry.
So
Attitude
it was, what are your thoughts when you hear gratitude is the attitude?
I agree.
Hey, it can just be that simple. So I incorporated that to some ideas around family. And I know, like I said, you share what you feel like sharing, but I bring that attitude of gratitude with me because of exposure, Bob. We were talking about exposure at our earlier meeting this morning, but exposure to my grandmother, who I lost, you guys know I lost this year. Her attitude was gratitude. Now, I can't even put into words how many times I've just experienced in her presence that just, hey, just the smallest things so appreciative of. And she would tell you she's grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm just grateful that I have you in my life. And that just, Greg, it's like you just mentioned, even the mentioning of the word, it's almost goosebumps. It's almost the thought of the word, and then the thinking of the people who you associate with that word. Gratitude is a powerful thing, man. So yeah, the time I spend with loved ones, man, I'm so grateful. The time I got to spend with people who are no longer with us, I'm so grateful. So yeah, I definitely attach that word to the love that I have had the wonderful opportunity to share with people like my grandmother. It's just man, I can't even put in the words too much, but gratitude means a whole lot to me, and I try to keep that attitude. I try to be grateful for a cold drink of water. I try to be grateful for putting my feet on the floor in the morning and having something warm to wear when it's cold. Sometimes I just say thank you just because. That's it. Bob, what you got? If Greg or Julia had anything else you want to add before? Okay, go ahead, Bob. What are your thoughts when you hear gratitude is the attitude?
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that it's not flippant, because it is too true to be treated as anything other than truth. And Felton, you and I talked about this morning, and Gregory and Julia have met Michael Lamb, who's the executive director of leadership and character at Wake Forest, for the program for leadership and character at Wake Forest. And I said this morning that the first time Michael and I met, I made the comment about gratitude that I thought it was the most beneficial sentiment to express for oneself, to just perpetually carry that sense with you and express it. But that also, I felt like it was the best thing for all the people that you were with as you expressed it. And when I met Michael, he just lit up and said, "Science backs you up," and began to, talk about all the research and all that kind of stuff that reinforces that idea. And I think that it's a sentiment or a feeling that if you do carry that with you, it keeps your mind and your heart oriented in such an outward and loving and giving and appreciative way. And I think it is just absolutely contagious. And so, if Thanksgiving at our house has always been the most important of the three big holidays. Thanksgiving has always been our holiday. Christmas is the shared holiday. January 1st is everybody come and have pork and collards and black-eyed peas and have a great time and look forward to the new year. But Thanksgiving has always been the one where it's about Thanksgiving, not about Thanksgiving in the traditional sense of what we think it's rooted in the United States, but in terms of the sentiment of Thanksgiving. And it's always been a matter of gratitude and sharing. And I think I think that if we as people could center anything culturally, especially in this capitalistic society that we have, that's rooted in greed and gain, that gratitude is it.
I knew you would rather enjoy unpacking that one. Like you said, the science backs it up, and I think that's pretty much what Gregory's position was. It does do something to you. Science does back it up. This is a question that I thought it was applicable, and you literally alluded to it when you mentioned the society we live in. It's greed and self-interested society. And I don't know if you're gonna do anything with this question besides answer it shortly, or if it's going to be something that you can do anything else with. I'll try. But how much of anything do we need? That's something I think that comes up in my mind during the holidays, or when it comes to the food that generally is I don't want to say wasted, but on some occasions it just is. The gifts that are given that are sometimes dust collectors. I'll begin answering this question. I don't think we need much of anything. I try to be a minimalist as much as I can. And don't get me wrong, I lose golf balls, so I need more golf balls. I wear out my socks, so I try to get socks, and I try to get socks I like. Sometimes I get ones that don't fit right, and I have to give them away. Underwear, good to keep some clean underwear. So there are things that we need, but just how much? I sometimes I find myself, I'll go through 2 or 3 towels, and I'm like, but I'm not ever getting to the rest of that stack. You know what I mean? I'm not getting to the rest of that stack. So why do I need all? So my thoughts about that question were definitely holiday oriented. The only thing that I feel like I could always use more of, and I will steal some of my grandmother's favorite phrasing during the last, all of her life, I'm certain, but definitely during the last couple months of her life. She said, I said, you need anything, Grandma? She said, just more Jesus, just need more Jesus. So if that's idyllic of love and peace, give me all I can take of that. But stuff, I just don't feel like I need much. Greg and Julia, if you have an answer to that question, I'd like to hear it. I don't know.
Wow, I love it, Felton. And we are minimalists. We live in 1,000 square foot house. The only time we go out to eat is with Bob. And we're simple, so simple. And I love what your grandmother said. We stopped Christmas a long time ago as far as gift giving. We said, give to your favorite charities. And we started that probably 20 years ago. So I'm so with you that what do we want? What do we need? And, sometimes it's okay to get what you want, that's okay. And there's no judgment, but we are very basic. There's so many people that need things, and waste is something that's really difficult for us to see. I want to comment one thing about the gratitude piece that I loved that Bob said was about the heart. And I think gratitude has the ability to open our heart centers, which we need more of. And it helps us reverse the flow since holidays have gotten all about us, taking in, what do I get? What will I get? What will I give? But gratitude is an outflow of energy. And I think that's what we need more of, giving, outflow versus an open heart versus taking in. So I love your minimalistic approach, and that's beautiful. And I love what your grandmother said. My mother would be all for it.
Tell her I said hello.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
No, what she said.
What she said. Yeah, and I think you're going to really like the last question then because of what you said about the giving aspect. I have one other question before we get out of here. But Bob, go ahead. If you could share with us how much do we need of anything?
Something that I feel like I've discovered, and let me start by saying, this is a discussion that my family has really initiated around this holiday season at the initiative, to be clear, of my older son, Chase. The matter of, we don't want gifts. We're not going. We're stopping. We're stopping this. We have so much, and we can always get whatever we want whenever we want it. No, we're not going to do this anymore. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my son to be the guy that says, time out. We're stepping off this train. I think that we don't need much of anything. We need what we need, but what we think we need is so not what we need. I mean, Julia and Gregory have a 1,000 square foot house. I know people now that have 6 people living in a 700 square foot house. I mean, so that means that Greg and Julia have space. Their situation is spacious. My situation is ridiculous. And part of it is when we move away from people that are bigger and better people into people that are real and people that are good and trying, and it all changes. Our perspective all changes.
I have to totally agree with that. That thing in me that I feel like became more of a fix, especially during the holidays. Practicality became so much important, and it became important to the point that I will put significant thought and effort into what I get from my mother and my sister. And when my grandmother was here, her and I told her years ago, don't give me another birthday card. Anything that you've said, everything that you've said to me over the course of my life, no card is going to ever come close. So no birthday cards. She got to sing happy birthday to me this year, thanks to my sister. So that's still something I'm savoring. But yeah, man, tell me what you need. And if I can figure out what you need or what you like, that's what I'll go for. I'm not just out here searching the store and, ooh, I can't wait to get them something that they're probably not going to use. I literally try to exercise the practicality muscle when it comes to that and almost anything else. Bob, did you have something you want to add before I got to this last question? Okay, I'll start with you then, since you're unmiked. I'll start with you, Bob. And I like this question. It's one that is inspired by my grandmother. Again, are you a cheerful receiver? So, Julia, you have to reverse that thought of just the giving part. So, are you a cheerful receiver? I'll save my thoughts for last. Bob, go ahead.
Well, I like to think that I am. I'm not sure that I am. And I'm not sure because, part of the challenge is back to the need issue. If you don't need anything, how joyous can you be about getting something you don't need? It's just as a practical matter. But I think to your grandmother's, I'm going to shift this a little bit because I think to your grandmother's point, it's not about that question is not about birthdays and Christmas. That question is about day to day. And are you willing to let somebody do something for you in the day to day and be joyful and grateful for it? I think that's your grandmother's. I think that's where your grandmother's coming from with that. And so.
And she wasn't willing, Bob. That's the whole thing.
Right.
Go ahead. I'll save it for the end.
No. That's why I said that, because I get that. And that's hard. And that's hard for me. That's hard for me. That's hard for me.
Greg and Julia, you guys have at it. Are you cheerful receivers?
I'm going to tie it into what I think your grandmother's was about. Can you accept even help, or that's receiving something? People know us so well, so they know not to give us anything. When I was sick for a fairly long period, it was so hard for me at first to receive food or help, but I learned to be appreciative, and so that was a humbling. I think I became, I wouldn't say cheerful, but grateful, even better than cheerful. I became so grateful and appreciative for the love that. So just recognizing the intention that someone has, and it's important to them to feel that they're doing something. So yes, I'm now cheerful.
I think to answer that, I have not been in the past a cheerful receiver. I'm better than I used to be. I think about one of my main influencers in my life, and that's the Dalai Lama. And I see so many situations where he's sitting there in a chair and he's being given so much. People just want to give to him. And he has become the face of a cheerful receiver. People are blessed by his willingness to receive from them. There's an exchange of energies. And so that's a beautiful thing. And that can be done on a daily basis by any of us, but just by being a cheerful receiver. That's it.
Well stated. And again, that if there's to bring this kind of full circle, if there's elements of expectation, you guys have met or exceeded them. My grandmother she didn't like for you to do anything for her. And her and I, maybe 5-6 years ago, I said, Grandma, you got to let somebody just do stuff for you sometimes. I said, you're taking something from them by not being a cheerful receiver. And that's exactly what you guys just alluded to. I had to learn it. I was the don't know, I got it, don't worry about it. I was the same way. And I don't know what I read. I know it was something I read. And I said, yeah, that's the point. That exchange is real. And you violate something in that exchange when you deny the person that is trying to do whatever that little thing is, the ability to do it. I don't care if it's holding a door. If I'm not the fastest walker most of the time, but if I see somebody holding a door and I know that I'm 20 more steps to it, I pick up the pace. There's something in that exchange that I should be grateful for and cheerful about. On that minuscule or base level, it's not minuscule, but on that base level. But when it comes to somebody writing you a note, sending a loving text, whatever it is, I remind myself of how important it may be to them. And that in turn makes it important to me. And then I become a cheerful receiver. This has been awesome as always. I wouldn't expect anything less. No matter how dangerous expectations are, they're often met in these squares. I appreciate you guys. I can't think of a better way to go into a holiday week and know that you're going to be in good spaces and places and with people that you love and care about dearly, as I will be. And I look forward to catching up with you guys on the other side in person. Hopefully not too long after we get past Thanksgiving and early in December. We have some things to discuss, some exciting things that I think we can plot and plan for in the springtime or whenever the weather decides to do something that I'll appreciate, and I appreciate everything it does, so it doesn't matter. So I'm looking forward to it. I thank you all for being here, and Danya, appreciate what you do in this space and place, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the squares, everybody that's ever been in the squares, and everybody out there in the world that's listening. Everyone take care, enjoy your family and friends, and be safe. And we'll see you the week after next. Y'all be good.